Final Armstrong podcast.
Woohoo!
Yeah, podcast 9.
Yes.
All right, so we have just listened to Armstrong's weird tangent about the mouse and the sense perception.
Mm-hmm.
So he's explained the link between sense perception and selective behaviour, which is that when we perceive things through our senses, for example, the mouse perceiving the green light,
Yes.
that actually gives us the capacity to select how we behave. So when the mouse perceives the green light,
Yep.
the mouse can then make a decision of, oh, I'm going to go down that pathway.
Yep.
So that's the link between sense perception and selective behaviour.
Yep.
But the problem is, or I guess the question is, how the heck is that relevant to the problem of consciousness? Remember, Armstrong wants to rebut the problem of consciousness to show why it's wrong and the mind actually is just mental states. But what the heck is that sense perception thing having to do with all of that? Yes. We will find out. So the reason why it's relevant is that Armstrong says that consciousness is nothing but perception or awareness of the state of our own mind.
Yeah.
So when we're conscious, like when we're driving, to go back to that example, if I'm actually conscious of my own driving, that means that my brain is actually perceiving the fact that I am driving.
Yeah.
So my eyes are perceiving the road, but then my brain is perceiving the fact that my eyes are perceiving the road.
So this is quite a complicated quote here, but it really sums up well how Armstrong is linking sense perception to his idea of mental states to help defeat this counter-argument of the problem of consciousness. So, to start, now, if this account is along the right line, so he means this account of consciousness as perceiving what is going on in your mind, why should we not give an account of this inner observation along the same lines as we have already given of perception? So he's referring back to his example of the mouse and its sense perception leading to selective action, and saying that we should use that line of argument and that reasoning to apply it to this idea of consciousness being perceptions. So why should we not conceive of it, that idea of consciousness leading to perceptions, as simply an inner state, a state in this case directed towards other inner states, which enables us to behave in a selective way towards our own states of mind? Essentially, why should we not just view it as our mind perceiving itself, our mind perceiving the mental states going on within it, and that perception, that consciousness, simply being a mental state?
Yeah, so people who believe in the problem of consciousness think that consciousness is this really special thing. It's really special and magical that we are able to perceive our own states of mind.
Yeah.
But Armstrong's saying, no, it's not special and magical. Consciousness is just another mental state that basically perceives other mental states. So it's like, this diagram might help you, right? So imagine this is someone's brain. Imagine the guy, the little man in the brain. That is the consciousness mental state.
Yeah.
And that mental state looks at other mental state. It perceives them.
Yes.
And then we're able to make selective choices about what to do about those other mental states.
Yeah. So consciousness is just like mental state inception, basically.
Yes, it is exactly like that.
Okay, so he's just said that consciousness is just another mental state, and then because we know that Armstrong is a very strong belief in science, scientism as he calls it, we know that consciousness, that mental state, is a physical, scientific one.
Yes, and so that means that consciousness, even though we think it's this awesome thing, he is contending that all consciousness is like one part of the brain looking at another part of the brain. They're just scanning one part of the central nervous system by another. And if any of you smart individuals do psychology, you might actually know a bit about this. And this has actually been backed up by science, obviously, because if you know anything about the prefrontal cortex, can you see that? It's the purple part on the left. Scientists have studied the prefrontal cortex, and they've actually found that is the section of the brain which makes us more advanced, basically, than animals, right? And
Yes.
in that part of the brain, they've found that contains the ability to actually make what they call like maps of our own brains and our own minds. So in that part, we're actually thinking, what does my mind look like? What am I thinking at this moment?
Yeah.
So science actually kind of backs up the idea that Armstrong's idea that consciousness is just one part of the brain. It's actually the prefrontal cortex looking at all the other parts of the brain.
Great.
Ta-da! We have finished Armstrong. How good do you feel?
Ridiculously good.
Armstrong's really tough. So if you've found this a little bit draining, don't worry, so have we. And I mean, the good thing now is that you've got all these podcasts which you can go back and listen to again and again.
Yep.
And go through the text again. And gradually,
will.
trust me, if you commit to it, gradually you'll get more and more of an understanding of what he's saying.
Such a strong understanding.
Yeah, very strong. And make sure you do all the questions in the reader and the online quizzes for all these modules as well. Yay.
Great. Well
Congratulations.
done.